you've got a lot of folks who are doing something that's not in their bailiwick. The terms and concepts of grievances and pathways to violence, these aren't educational terms. These are not things that you're prepped for. Welcome to the BTAM Breakdown, the podcast for K-12 superintendents, school psychologists, and school safety directors, as well as anyone who's interested in school safety. I'm Jason Matlock. I'm joined by Dr. Julia Hollinger.
Hi, Jay.
We're going to be bringing you information that really reaches out to what you need to really make things better for you. Julia, how are we going to do that? What's an episode going to look like for us?
Yeah, so each week we are going to bring you a relevant topic in the area of behavioral threat assessment, as well as suicide risk assessment. We'll be kind of covering both of those. And I think the idea here is to discuss those relevant topics within a framework of the people that are actually doing this work. And so our goal is to help facilitate a discussion between not only you and I, who have our own areas of expertise and certainly can speak to our experiences, but also bringing in those national experts, individuals who have expertise on a higher level with some of these things, and having them facilitate that discussion with our local experts. So these are the individuals who are still doing the work. They're in the trenches. They are, having to go through some of these assessments and incidents and making sure that all of our bases are covered and we get all of those good different perspectives on what this looks like in real time.
Start off about a little bit about who we are, I guess. Probably want to know a little bit of that. I'm going to defer to Dr. Julia here to get us started. Go ahead, Doc.
Sounds good. Thanks. So I am Dr. Julia Hollinger. I am a licensed psychologist. I am a licensed school psychologist, and I've been in practice this is my 17th year. Prior to coming on to PCG, I spent about 13 years in the public ed system in Pennsylvania and in Florida. And I am still a practicing psychologist here in Florida, where I reside. I mostly focus on psychological evaluation these days, but still heavily involved seeing kids that are going through the school system. So I feel like it's a nice blend between what I'm doing for PCG or Public Consulting Group and what I'm doing on the outside. Kind of helps me keep in the know and keep my skills fresh. As far as my background and expertise in behavioral threat assessment and suicide risk assessment, which is probably my bigger area of expertise, I would say. But when I was working in the schools many moons ago now, I've been out for a while, but I helped multiple districts develop their own behavioral threat assessment protocols. So this was before we had anything like our system, which we'll be talking about a lot on this podcast. But everything was done pencil paper. There wasn't nearly the amount of formality that there is now or required protocols. So it was really just me kind of operating in a bubble, trying to figure things out as I went. But I gained a lot of knowledge doing it that way and really saw the value of bringing in a team, which we're also going to be talking a lot about on this podcast. So can kind of bring in some experience for how things used to be versus how things are now and kind of the benefits that our system can offer. As I said, I have primary experience in suicide risk assessment. So that's been an area of both personal and professional interest to me. I am a survivor of suicide. So I lost my dad to suicide in 2009. And since then, and I guess during that experience, I realized how much this was affecting not only the general public, but of course, being in the schools, how much it was affecting our students and what that process looked like. Again, not very clear cut in the schools. There wasn't really a lot of formality or what to do, and also not a lot of follow through. So, from a preventative standpoint, I think there's a lot of room for growth, but also for that ongoing monitoring piece, and how can we, help students who are experiencing those types of issues. So again, lots of experience that I'm going to bring to the table with both of those things.
Awesome. And thank you so much. I know that's tough thank you for your personal connection to it. I know that's always tough to put out there to the world. And I appreciate you sharing that with everyone and with us as you come through with your expertise.
Yeah, thanks so much. Combating stigma is definitely something that I'm very passionate about. So I'm always happy to share that experience and talk about it. But let's hear a little bit about your background. I know we come from vastly different backgrounds, so this will be interesting for our listeners.
Vastly different. I don't know if it's vastly different. Believe me, I played street side psychologist for many years. I don't know what you're talking about. I just never
That's
did.
true. So maybe from your end,
Yeah.
I unfortunately did not have the experience of getting to play SRO.
So yes, I did come from the law enforcement and security side of the house. I've spent about 25 years in the public safety realm prior to joining PCG. Um, and so I started out as most do on the street, and then transitioned over into being a school resource officer, and spent about half my career in that side of the house. So I've been learning and working with threat assessment since the beginning, so to speak. Um, Being trained up on threat assessment protocols and processes and response, dating back to Columbine time. So I've been involved in it there. Then I moved on about halfway through, and I took over leading emergency management, safety, and security for the Minneapolis Public Schools. So I spent the latter half of my career trying to work on a team that would lead safety response from a non law enforcement side of the house. So definitely understanding the concepts and struggles of having folks who weren't trained in this world, making sure they understand the importance of behavioral threat assessment and management, the impacts of how these things affect our students, and moving through spaces with understanding of what could be brought out. You mentioned stigmas around suicide, and there's also a lot of stigmas around behavioral threat assessment today. People still look at it as this punitive process, as this thing that is used to punish someone who has done something. And really, we need to continue to move them towards that concept that this is about supporting students who are on a pathway. I mean, we'll talk a lot about the different details and for folks as we go through, but really understanding these acts are on a pathway. So if we can do something to derail and to move someone off of a pathway, we're going to end up with a much better solution than even just stopping an act, but really restoring a student back into that learning environment. So again, I've come from that side. I've led teams, created teams now for the last couple of years with PCG, trying to help from a case management software side of the house. And like I said, we'll talk much more about that. But for me, it has always been about students and student safety. But again, not just keeping them safe from the outside threats or the actual threats, but making sure that when we create systems, we're not creating systems that overly punish or identify or overly increase disparities and those kind of that kind of nature. So we'll talk about all those things as we continue on. Um, there's many ways to do behavioral threat assessment and management, but I think where we come at this from was we had partners in Virginia, in Florida. They experienced these tragedies. They came to us and started talking about case management. And this is where I'm going to defer to you, Doc, and about what case management is, and what was it like for you when you were working through threat assessments back in the buildings? What challenges were there for you? How did things work?
Yeah. So as I was saying, really there, I was working in Pennsylvania at the time, and there was no required really like laws that we had to do anything. And the districts that I was working in had very few, if any, protocols. So at one point, as a young practitioner, our protocol was if a child made a threat to someone else, we would refer them out to a local practitioner, Dr. Barry. You've heard me talk about him before, and he would provide an assessment and provide a 1 or 2 page report to us. And a lot of times we would just put that report in the kids' cumulative file and kind of call it a day. Most of the time we were taking Dr. Barry's recommendation. Maybe we would put a plan in place, or that child already had some sort of plan, we would try to integrate it. But it was almost like a hoop that we had to jump through. No one was really super concerned about documenting things. And so over time, I kind of realized that that was not the way to be doing things. And Dr. Barry retired. And so I was kind of like, well, now we don't have him. So I guess it's time for me to start doing, something along those lines in terms of being able to do an assessment. And so that was when I helped our teams really kind of get that protocol and process in place. So, what exactly needs to happen, who's going to do what. And that was also huge for me. The districts that I've worked in, I've always been a single psychologist, so kind of operating in a bubble. But I didn't want to do that for behavioral threat assessment or really suicide risk assessment. I wanted to have that team approach, not only from a legal standpoint, so it wasn't just me kind of saying, hey, this is what I think, but just to kind of share the work and get those different perspectives, which I think is really important. And so working together, trying to do some research on what was best practice in other areas at the time, and making sure we covered all our bases. And so eventually just making that process our own. Now, again, it still was not nearly to the extent that, our solution offers in terms of, I think, fidelity and just documentation, but at least it was something, and we had some sort of process in place.
Great, yeah, and thank you, Dr. Barry, for being a trailblazer in this world, and again, how far we've come from sending something out. And I think that's part of why we're here with this podcast, is we really want to be able to allow those in the field, so the superintendents, the safety directors, the student support services folks, the mental health professionals, those who are really doing the work. We want to give you some support in some of the things you do. We're going to bring together uh, national level practitioners, national level experts, but we're also going to bring forth local experts. We're going to bring forth folks who are doing it every day. Julie and I both have experience in this field. We've both done it. We both have been only out of the day-to-day work for a short period of time. So we have plenty of real life experience, but we're gonna tap into those who are still doing it as well, because again, you could hear us from us, but we know that when you get information and from those who are still right there with you, it really means a lot. So we're really going to be focusing on making sure their stories are coming forth, that we're looking at what pain points are there for you. How can we support you? How can we get you the information you need to do your job better, and to really support those students? Again, that whole child conversation around understanding why this student is on a pathway to violence, how we can mitigate and decrease that risk, and continue to supply the education that they deserve and they need. So we'll work through all of those things. We'll bring some folks in. Um, we'll have this here for you. This is going to be something. Again, um, we don't do a lot of things at PCG because we want to. We do a lot of things at PCG because there's a need. Others need it, and we are here to fill the gaps. So that's really where we want to make sure we're going to be for you as we continue forward. Anything else,
So
Julian?
what do
Here,
you
yeah.
think? Yeah, what do you think some of those pain points were for you when you were practicing that we want to maybe cover?
Yeah, I think, again, I think for everyone, it depends on, no matter your size of your district, like I think I said it early on, you've got a lot of folks who are doing something that's not in their bailiwick. I don't know many math teachers who felt like at some point they'd be talking about making sure Johnny's not got an arsenal he's going to bring to school tomorrow and do harm to people. The terms and concepts of grievances and pathways to violence, these aren't educational terms. These are not things
Yeah.
that you're prepped for. So really knowing that these are robust investigations that are done. These support plans are forever ongoing. The assessment, we talk about threat assessment, but that management portion is a huge piece that really needs a lot of support and a lot of push.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I think that's super well said that it really is a little bit out of their wheelhouse. So I'll be excited to bring in some experts and some local people who, as you said, have been doing this work and kind of are sitting in that same boat to show that it is doable and also to show how we can help support some other issues that often come up, such as, how do we keep everyone up to date on compliance and what they have to do, and making sure that everyone is trained correctly, and even things like funding and resources. Where do we get the resources to do these things ongoing? So I'll be excited to kind of hear what others have to say about that and discuss that a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, I think we're going to be able to give folks information on training, funding, all the different pain points that are out there. Documentation and assessment always important. So we're going to go through and we're going to come to you on a regular basis with the information you need and try to get you set up to really be as confident as you can, because you're the experts. You're the ones in the field doing the work. We're not trying to tell you we know how to do things where you are, but we're here to support you and to get you information and to get you what you need to be the best you can be in these kind of things. And really, as the tagline says, find solutions that matter. So we're going to bring you the BTAM breakdown from Public Consulting Group. And again, thank you for your time, and we hope you look forward to hearing from us regularly. I'm Jason Matlock with
Dr. Julia Hollinger, BTAM Breakdown.